We have before us today a man of many talents, a multifaceted individual indeed, Conor McGregor, and the talent for which he is most prominently known, that being fighting, ironically, is the one which is least impressive, the talent of his which is least cultivated, and for that reason, I have a very dismal outlook on the competitive future of Conor McGregor in mixed martial arts or combat sports in general. And to first understand why this might be, I say we take a look at the many faces of Conor McGregor. He used to be a man fully committed to mixed martial arts, a commensurate professional athlete. But today, he has many endeavors in which he is involved in. And some of these are not endeavors at all. Some of these he has been subjected to, or rather he has subjected himself to. Alright, we look at the first face of Conor McGregor. That being the criminal Conor McGregor, the alleged sexual assaulter, the alleged rapist, found guilty civilly by the Irish court. This man has occupied Irish courts, Irish press, anything related to Irish criminology for the past weeks. Alright, this is a man whose focus is going to be much more closely aligned with rebuilding his character rather than committing himself to peak athletic performance. Although, this is the one face of Conor McGregor which could be advantageous to his return to the octagon if we ever see such a thing. And that is because if he is trying to save his reputation, it may be in his best interest to resurrect the mixed martial artist that fans fell in love with originally. Alright, but we introduce another face of Conor McGregor, one which may be less helpful in his return to the octagon or return to fighting, and that is the promoter Conor McGregor, the man who seems out of his mind, the man who has clearly been smoking on the finest ganja offered by Colombia, perhaps sniffing on the finest powder offered by Colombia. The man is, as I said, outside of his mind when he is promoting. He got his fist up in the air, he doesn't even know who he's trying to punch, but if you get close, he'd probably smack you across the face. Alright, he's trying to be on stage with the athletes. He's giving away half the value of the company to fighters after fights. His co-owners are freaking out as they realize that he's going to get rid of all their money. This is Conor McGregor that is absolutely unhinged. This man is unfocused. He's raking in dough, and he is seeing that it is absolutely unnecessary for him to continue pursuing athleticism on his behalf for him to be successful. This is a face of Conor McGregor which will limit his return to the octagon. Alright? We take a look at the actor, Conor McGregor, next. Alright, this is a man who gets to be freely his most wild self. Alright, this brings out the arrogance in Conor McGregor. This brings out his narcissism a bit. He gets to play up to all these characteristics which are just absolutely amplified in his character as we saw in Roadhouse. Although, I do think he quite enjoyed the role, and as he said, this is going to be in the bank for life. He put that baby in there for life, and that is something that he looks at as an accomplishment, and surely is too much or is too great of an accomplishment for him to feel that he needs to be motivated to return to fighting. He simply does not need fighting as he once did to establish his character or establish his person as something that is of interest to the vast majority of people. And now we look at one of the most harmful facets of the character that is Conor McGregor. And that is his, what in all likelihood, is a drug addiction. Alright? We have Exhibit A before us. And this is the Roadhouse interview with Jake Gyllenhaal, where this man, Conor McGregor, was licking his lips. His nose was moving like a bunny rabbit out of a... If a bunny rabbit were to put its nostrils in the rear of a skunk, this is what I would imagine I would see if I had my eyes looking at its nose with a microscopic lens, because the movement was significant, substantial, one that one would be hard-pressed to describe as insignificant, in fact. Alright, licking, like I said, licking it, oh my, I'm struggling to speak. Just look at the three pictures we have. This is a man who is clearly in a state of disarray. He's speaking in the interview, and it looks like he is going through withdrawal as he speaks, and he is going to the greatest extent of his physical perseverance to subdue these clearly unpleasant feelings. Jake Gyllenhaal cannot believe that he's working with this man. How do some people get to this level of society? That is what Jake Gyllenhaal is thinking to himself. And we see another example of substance abuse from the man Conor McGregor. Recall that he is the owner, or he's highly involved in forged Irish stout, I cannot believe what I just said. Proper 12 Irish whiskey, you know yourself. And he's got the forged Irish stout, whatever that may be. Look at Ariel's face as he has to as he's trying to interpret what is being said by Conor McGregor. This man was hardly speaking English. If you were a man, if you spoke Chinese, say you lived in Shanghai or something, and you heard this, you would have difficulty determining that Ariel and Connor are speaking the same language. There needed to be a translator at this moment to take these utterings from Connor from the language of whatever airplane in the sky he was on to the language of English that Ariel was trying to conduct the interview in. Conor McGregor was outside of his mind in this interview. Clearly a passion for whiskey, clearly a passion for alcohol that goes beyond excellence in cultivation. And that means he is consuming this beverage in unhealthy amounts, all right? This is certainly a vice of Conor McGregor, and one is simply not going to be an outstanding fighter in any sort of domain outside a bar if they are an alcoholic, all right? We look at a continued examination, a continued analysis of Conor McGregor's substance abuse. As we have mentioned, proper 12 Irish whiskey, yeah? Conor McGregor cannot get enough of the substance, all right? On the right, we see a cigar. This is a euphemism for the powder he's on. God knows what else. I mean, there could be pills. What else? I mean, and we have this ice cream. Oh, he may conceal his incredible emotion as the result of a delicious ice cream sandwich, a delicious ice cream bar. Will I bring to you news that it was likely not in fact the ice cream bar, which he found so funny, which he found to be a entity of such hilarity in the recording of this video. Conor McGregor is a drug addict, an alcoholic in all likelihood, and I hope the man gets the help he needs to overcome this issue, but this is not some sort of condition in which one is going to be a stellar athlete, all right? Another face of Conor McGregor, which is going to be prohibitive, those might not even be real words, but they're not going to be helpful in his return to the octagon. We got the man who's infatuated with luxury. We got Conor McGregor on a yacht that spits fire out in the middle of probably some European ocean-ish area. I don't know. It's going to be some luxurious palm trees, bright sun, warm weather. Any pleasant emotion that you can feel from non-drugs, he's feeling as he indulges in the luxury life. On the right, we see a picture where Conor McGregor had ordered a shipment of designer clothes to some bay in Europe. He docks his boat, waits in the dock, and he has delivered a shipment of designer clothes. What kind of status in life have you achieved to be going through this situation? All right, this is not a man. This is not a man that's going to be training religiously to be in peak athletic performance or peak athletic condition to display a phenomenal performance against a potential opponent. Which brings us to his potential return. If he were to return, I think the most likely opponent, at least in mixed martial arts, is Michael Chandler. We need to see a definitive conclusion to The Ultimate Fighter. I want to see this fight happen. Michael Chandler is not sufficiently skilled to give Conor McGregor, if he is technically at the same level he was before his absence, any sort of challenge whatsoever. Michael Chandler has the physical ability to be one of the finest octagon fighters, what am I going on about? One of the finest fighters in the UFC the promotion has ever seen. He could be one of the greatest lightweights of all time because of his athletic prowess. But because Michael Chandler has some sort of obscure dedication to self-sabotage, to irrationality in implementation of his strategy, whilst in the fight, he is unable to be effective as a combatant. I do not understand what is wrong with Michael Chandler from a psychological perspective. The man likes to talk about his commitment to dedication. Well, Michael Chandler, I need you to dedicate yourself to a game plan. I need you to dedicate yourself to tactics. I need you to dedicate yourself to anything other than absolute buffoonery when you step inside of that octagon. Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler would be an interesting fight because despite the clear physical disadvantages McGregor would have as a result of his absolutely horrendous lifestyle, he may be able to best Chandler because of the fact that Chandler is an absolute moron when he steps inside of the octagon. Another opponent, very unlikely, but Ilia Topuria, slap a little nose off him, yeah. We're not going to see the nose slapped off of anybody other than Conor McGregor if this fight happens. I don't care if Topuria has to weigh in at 145. McGregor weighs in at a dehydrated 170 after he's been doing his cow steroids, eating horse meat, and, as I said, sniffing the finest powder that Colombia has to offer. This fight is not going to happen. Ilia Topuria might slap the nose off Conor McGregor if such an encounter were to take place. But I bring to you perhaps the most interesting fight of them all, which may actually take place. And this is a fight which would not occur inside of the octagon, but would rather occur inside of a square. We're talking about the boxing ring against Logan Paul. Logan Paul. Are we talking about the WWE wrestler, the Crypto Zoo scammer? No, we're talking about the man who is self-proclaimed one of the greatest boxers of all time. I guess he's not self-proclaimed as the one of the greatest boxers of all time, but he's self-proclaimed as a competent, highly proficient boxer simply because of the fact he, quote-unquote, went 8 rounds with the greatest of all time. All right, buddy. Floyd Mayweather, several years out of competition, but many years out of his prime, and with the weight advantage. I do not understand how Logan Paul believes this was a bout which demonstrated his skill set or demonstrated the proficiency of his skill set as a boxer. It certainly demonstrated his skill set and showed that it is not on the level which Paul claims it to be on. In fact, if it were on such a level, then he would have dismantled Dylan Dennis. Dylan Dennis, the man, I think you defined that the striking ability of a newborn toddler is more technically sound than that of Dylan Dennis. And yet Logan Paul was unable to knock this man out. It was actually a fairly, even though Dennis didn't do any damage, it was a fairly, the point is, one cannot describe in words how disappointing it was that Logan Paul was unable to handle Dylan Dennis a bit more dominantly. All right. I do not think that Logan Paul is a skilled fighter, which is why, if we see this fight in a boxing match, that could be interesting. We could have Conor McGregor swinging wild, Logan Paul not knowing what to do. It would be interesting at the very least. But is this likely? Ultimately, I do not think so. Conor McGregor has been talking about his return for years at this point. Dana White has been talking about his return for years. How many rumors have you heard that Conor McGregor is going to come back and then it never materializes? I don't know if we ever see it happen. I think Conor McGregor walks away from the sport. No shame, quite frankly. I think it would be best if the man gets help from his clear suffering as a drug addict, potentially, alcoholic. I say the man gets help. But I don't think we see his return to the octagon. And that is my final perspective on the situation.